Order at 8:33 a.m. And today we're designating Tom Bebbington as our minute taker. And let's see, probably the first thing we need to do is appoint James Bubar, one of our alternates, as a voting member today in the absence of Alberto Manalo.
I will make that motion.
Second, and all those in favor indicate by saying aye. I guess
Aye.
we're actually supposed to have our name and vote, so
Tom Bebbington, aye.
Ted Howard, aye. Motion is carried. Welcome to the official trustee role this morning. We appreciate you being here despite your...
Excuse me.
Second item on the agenda is dealing with the Zoom protocol. Craig, is there anybody on Zoom this morning?
No one on Zoom.
Okay, it's peaceful and quiet. And I know our other two trustees and alternate are elsewhere, so we don't need to worry about that. There being no members of the public in person here and none on the Zoom, we will hold public input until we'll have another time for public input at 9 o'clock as per usual, if that's necessary. First thing we need to do is approve the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
And a second?
I will second.
Any discussion, amendments, or anything like that? Hearing none, all those in favor on a roll call basis, starting with James.
James Bubar, aye.
Ted Howard, aye.
Tom Bebbington, aye.
Motion, any abstentions? No, because we're all here. No votes. Motion is carried and the agenda is approved. The next item is the minutes for our meeting on November 25th. So first we should probably have a motion to approve.
I will make that motion to approve the minutes of the November 25th meeting.
And
Yep, go ahead.
I will second that motion.
All right. Discussion on those minutes. Editorial.
I didn't notice anything.
They are Alberto's usual excellent record of our conversations. If there are no further discussion, we'll call a question and a roll call vote. We'll start this side.
Tom Bebbington, aye.
Ted Howard, aye.
James Bubar, aye.
And moving on to continuing business. Let's see. I was not able to attend the previous land stewardship subcommittee because of a conflict with another long scheduled meeting. So I'm not sure. I think the discussions, in talking to one of the members of that subcommittee, there was some continuing discussion on the signage related to the various properties, trying to come up with a uniform, consistent, and effective way to communicate not only what's permitted, what's not permitted, as well as some of the unique features of each of the properties. And ideally, by being somewhat consistent, it won't matter when people arrive, at whichever property, they'll kind of see the same messaging. I think that's sort of where they are. In terms of Doe Farm, yes, a couple things. One related to an expenditure request that we'll deal with later. I did report in November that I made a presentation to the Lampley River Advisory Committee. And subsequently, I submitted the report that they were expecting of us, and they accepted that report in early December, and then indicated that we were free to send an invoice for the balance of the grant that they owed us, and the business office is taking care of that this week. Probably already done, because they're that efficient. And as I indicated before, the combination of the two grants that we received covered 95, 97, 98% of the total cost. And so there is a small amount that will come from the Doe Trust itself, and we'll have that discussion a little bit later. That's $260 out of $8,000 and change. So we did very well. Well, Sarah Callahan, our former land stewardship coordinator, did very well by us in terms of identifying sources that would be supportive of that activity, getting the forest management plan completed. One thing that was mentioned in the forest management plan was the development of a invasive species, plant species monitoring plan. And I did reach out to some colleagues at the university to see if we could identify somebody who would be interested in helping us out with that.
Excuse me.
And I spoke by Zoom call the other day with a colleague who's interested in doing something with us, but it may not be exactly the monitoring plan itself. It may be in collaboration with a monitoring plan. And so exactly how we get a monitoring plan on the ground remains to be seen, but we've got plenty of time. Nothing's growing out there.
Mhm.
So,
What's entailed in the monitoring plan?
in the monitoring plan, you need some kind of sampling technique on the ground. And the idea would be to have, I think, the way to go about this, you can imagine the Doe Farm property running essentially north and south. And we have areas that we know we don't have much problem. We have areas that we probably still have some problems, and we have areas that we've treated in various fashions at various times. And there are ways to lay out transects through that property that sample each of those kinds of conditions, and on some rolling basis, something you wouldn't do every year, particularly if you had a student group. If you could find a student group, let's say you had 5 transects, this year student volunteers do this one, next year they do this one, and so on and so forth, or some pattern like that. And then given the data, processing the data to see what the situation is. With a little head scratching, I could probably design the thing, and certainly can run it by one of my friends at the Department of Natural Resources and the Environment, who's a genius at this. Because he didn't raise his hand and say, oh, I'd love to do that, but I think that's because he's on sabbatical right now and he's not doing anything but recovering from 6 years of being a department chair. So, a monitoring plan is still in our future. It's a doable kind of thing.
But it's not a remediation plan, it's just
No,
monitoring.
it's just keeping track of what's going on out there. So, if nothing else, you can then identify places that might subsequently need some additional treatment. Okay. So. It's the smoke detectors.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like taking a lab test.
And just as there are protocols on where you put your smoke detectors in your house, so too are there for sampling invasive species on land. Then finally, the presentation that I did give to the Land Stewardship Subcommittee, no, to the Lamplight River Association Advisory Committee, I probably will repeat, I think in January, to the Land Stewardship Subcommittee, just to give them an overview of this plan that we all looked at. So that's all I have to report from the Doe Farm and Land Stewardship Subcommittee. Any questions? If not, Cemetery Committee.
Well, there's not much to say about the cemetery committee because we are closed. There have been no sales and no burials, and the ground is frozen, and there was significant snow out there, as there was everywhere, on December 5th. So I've taken a couple of calls from folks asking about, access to the cemetery to place wreaths and whatnot, and it's like, well, get your snowshoes, so, we're closed. So now is the time of year when we do paperwork and write reports and update maps and that sort of thing. So I've finished all of the paperwork and actually digitizing all of the records, actually from the last 3 years. I was a little behind in that work. So the paper copies will all go down into the storage room this morning. And then the next thing is just, kind of taking all of that data, updating the maps, making sure the website is updated, that sort of thing. So that's what keeps me busy during the winter. But there's nothing going on in the cemetery itself.
Questions? All right. There being none, thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. Moving on to new business, and probably the more critical element this morning. We have 3 disbursement request approvals to handle this morning. And I sent around the PDFs, so we thought we would look at maybe in the order of size. One is from expenditures from the Fire Equipment Capital Reserve as well as from the Parking Capital Reserve, as detailed on the form, for a total expenditure of $237,328.87.
I'm sorry, could you give me that number again?
Sure. 237, 328 and 87 cents.
Okay.
You would have thought they could have come up with the 87 cents.
Yeah.
Out of the general.
It's the 87 cents that gets me.
Yeah, well, it was 90, there was one for, it ended in 90 cents and the other one ended in 97 cents. So, and attached to that PDF that went around was just a list of all of the things that they spent the money on from the architectural firm, a bunch of it to the architectural firm. Some communications gear. Cleaning, Yates Electric, so on and so forth. And so the documentation for those expenditures are all listed. Can I have a motion? Do this the regular way, a motion to approve the disbursement as described.
I will move.
In a second.
I will second.
All right. Discussion, questions?
Yeah, I think what you sent around was pretty straightforward, so.
It looked like it was, to me, it looked like everything was in order. And they were expending the money for which it was requested, so. If there's no further discussion, I move approval of these expenditures, disbursements, I guess. Oh, we don't have to move, I'll call the question, so all those in favor, go through the order.
James Bubar, aye.
Ted Howard, aye.
Tom Bevington, aye.
All right.
We have to sign that.
We will sign these, I guess we'll get going here.
All right.
Let's see, the next one. Oh, not that one, that's this one. There are two expenditures here, one from the Technology Drive Trust for $360 for monitoring the conservation easement associated with the Capstone the student housing project out there. So there's a conservation easement associated with that. Apparently it goes through the cemetery or very nearby. There's
It
a
goes
trust
nearby,
fund.
yeah.
And the second piece is the Hamilton Smith Memorial Chapel Trust for $383.90.
That's the
And that's the
power bill.
the power bill, which the town pays as they go along, and then the business office aggregates that into one deduction. So this is a transfer over to the town. So can I have a motion to approve the disbursements as described?
I will move to approve those two disbursements.
I will second that.
Is there any discussion or questions about those items? There being none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify with your name and saying aye. Start with this one.
Tom Bevington, aye.
Ted Howard, aye.
James Bubar, aye.
We're being very efficient this morning. And finally, the third and final disbursement would be from the Olinthus Doe Trust, Olinthus Doe Trust, in the amount of $240. And this would be for the balance of the forest management plan as prepared by Charles Marino. So the town has paid the plan, paid the consultant, and either has been reimbursed $4,000 from Stratford Regional Planning Commission. They've already had reimbursement for half of the Lamprey River Association Advisory Committee amount, and they're going to get the other half, and that leaves a balance of $240 to come from the trust. So I guess first thing would be a motion to approve the disbursement of the funds from the trust.
So moved.
Second.
And a second. All right. Discussion. Questions? There being none, I'll call for a vote. We'll start this way.
James Bubar, aye.
Ted Howard, aye.
Tom Bevington, aye.
Could be the best $240 we ever spent.
Yeah.
So, there are 2 copies of each, and I'll get them moving here. Today is the 23rd of December. And James, when it comes to you, you can scratch out Alberto's name and
No, okay.
put yours. I'll start, get those going that way. Get those going that way.
You can take these. Thank you, sir.
We should have an auto pen.
Yes.
You put that in the budget for next year.
Those are complete.
These are finished.
All right, 1, 2, 3, those are done.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thanks, everybody. And I know Deb will appreciate us taking care of this. She's been anxious to get this stuff
Get
done
it all
before
off
the end of the
books.
year.
Yeah,
and-
I don't blame her.
Yep, and put it to bed and not have a couple of things drag on over. So that's great. Next item on the agenda is the MS9 spreadsheets. Did folks have an opportunity to look at those?
Yes, I took a brief glance at them, and, you know, all seems to be in order.
I suppose first we ought to have maybe a motion to approve the MS9 spreadsheets as provided.
I will approve the MS9 spreadsheets for November of 2025.
And I will second that motion.
Yeah, therefore, discussion. And I was going to observe that the only real change is that we didn't approve any disbursements prior to that. So the only thing would have been additions to income or changes in value going through the system. And my memory was November was an okay month, but not a great month. And you know, it is what it is. And as I reported to the well, I'll touch on town council in a minute. Does anybody else have any additional observations? So I'll move approval of the November 2025 MS9 spreadsheet. No, not move, but call the question.
Tom Bevington, aye.
Ted Howard, aye.
James Bubar, aye.
All right. We are cruising right along here. So I mentioned town council. I did make a presentation on December 1 for the annual report of town council. And I thanks for you all for reading through that and sending some suggestions. The council, there was two questions, I guess. No, not two, just one. An observation that we had done very well in terms of a total return, and so I thank the trustees for that. And the other had to do with having added, as James pointed out, it was one of those things where we had approved disbursements of about $750,000 in some big chunks, and so it would make sense to maybe identify what those were to the town council. Well, that turned out to be a little bit confusing to them because one of them was a pension, a benefits contingency thing. Let me find out what it exactly was. Just take a second.
Oh, is that the benefits payout?
Yeah, so it's this one here.
Yeah, it's certainly not what a normal business would do.
The Benefit Stabilization Trust Fund. And there was, I guess, some confusion about what that was, or whether that was tied somehow to the state retirement system or so on and so forth. And unfortunately, it was one of those things that we had done, I think, fairly early. Well, we actually had done it in 2024, so I didn't remember exactly what it was. Todd had some explanation for it, which I don't remember at the point. But everybody seemed to be happy with identification of what that was. So at least they were happy that it was not, it was something that we had control. I think the concern was that money was moving around by directive of some agency outside of the town, and that was not the case.
But, and maybe, I keep struggling with this, but the trustees really don't approve the underlying expenditure. They approve that the expenditure complies with
That's
the
correct.
purpose.
That's right.
And I don't know that the town council truly grasps that.
Yeah.
Because I think they're looking at the trustees as being the line of defense, and it's really not the way I look at it.
Yeah, it not so much a line of defense, I guess, but a line of defense against some entity spending the money the wrong way.
Right.
But and fire equipment's a good one. If the fire department wanted to buy a gold-plated fire truck, as long as it's a fire truck,
Yeah, a banana's a banana, so.
yeah. You know, it's not our role to guess whether the engine should be a Cummins
Yeah.
or something else. You know.
Yeah, so I mean, if there was a legitimate concern, then I would suggest it would be up to the town council to put in place some mechanism for authorizing expenditures that would be sent to the trustees. Whether it's just certain titles that can do it, or you need to have 2 signatures,
Right.
or whatever you want for a process. But as long as it shows up here and it satisfies the intent of the trustee or the fund.
That is
Yeah,
exactly
okay.
our role. So
Maybe
that
I
was,
do get it.
that was pretty much the only questions that
Okay.
were focused on what it is that we do.
I guess the other thing I would say in terms of the return, that yes, the return was good, but it was good within the guidelines of the investment policy.
Yes.
Now, if you'd wanted to do some hedging, if you'd wanted to go deeper into certain foreign stocks, there are people who will give you higher returns.
Yep.
They'll also give you lower returns, so.
Yes, things like
I
they
mean,
do.
it's within the bumpers, we did good.
My, my daughter works for a large organization, Royal Bank of Canada,
Oh, okay.
and does is involved in the international marketing. And they made 30% last year.
Yeah.
Your minimum in is 5 million. And you have to be prepared to lose it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we don't
Yeah.
do that. With it, and I did talk a little bit about our investment policy, that we follow the investment policy and that we review it. That was mentioned actually in the written report. And that we will continue to review it as required by statute.
Well, I think this discussion points up something important, and that's the role of the trustees on both ends, right? We don't decide whether the fire department should buy a Mac or a GMC. We make sure that if the town council said we're going to put $50,000 a year for the next 5 years into a fund to buy a new fire truck in 5 years, that money is spent on a fire truck.
Yep.
It is not
That's
up to us to
right.
decide. And likewise with the investments, it is not up to us to decide, let's chase this asset class, it'll give us better returns. We have an investment policy, and we work with our advisors to make sure that the money is invested in accordance with the policy. If the town council has questions or is unhappy with the way that is working, it is time to take a look at the investment policy rather than say, well, trustees, why didn't you do X or Y or Z? Because we invest according to the policy. We're here to follow the rules that are written.
And that's why the Attorney General likes a copy of that every year, and we're required to look at it because that's exactly how we're supposed to do this.
But the reason I bring this up is we'll occasionally get questions. Well, why are we investing in an asset class that, say, we don't like tobacco or oil? I don't know if we're actually doing that, and it's because it's the investment policy.
So, yep. And so there was no input from the town council on that area, but I think maybe in my subsequent presentation to them, maybe outlining exactly, what the framework is that
Yeah.
we
No, I think, James, to your point, it might be worth reiterating what our role is, because it's not immediately apparent when you hear trustees of the trust funds.
Right, it isn't. And if you're sitting on the outside, it's even less apparent.
Exactly.
And nobody comes to these meetings to
Which
hear
is
us
why
talk
we
about such
record them,
things.
so if somebody really, really, really did want to see what we were doing, they could actually, at their leisure, could
Oh, yes, yes.
watch the show,
Yeah.
the reruns, as it were. The last piece that I have this morning, and this will take some, I don't know if we want to act on this morning or whether we postpone it until everybody is assembled. It doesn't appear to be a rush on this in terms of a deadline. I'll read it quickly to you. Basically, the people, this is from Cambridge Trust. It says, "Dear client, security issuers occasionally look to contact their shareholders directly or on various topics, including proxy voting and other corporate communications. To that end, they may contact a financial intermediary, Cambridge Trust, that holds a shareholder's account seeking name, address, and security position of that shareholder. Pursuant to the Shareholder Communication Act of 1985, Cambridge Trust Wealth Management clients may make an election to object to the disclosure of their personal information when such requests are made by security issuers. As part of a routine review, it was observed that Cambridge Trust does not have an election for or against on file for our accounts. Accordingly, if you would like to object to these types of disclosures in response to security issuers' requests, please make your election by following the instructions below. It will apply to all the accounts, yada, yada, yada. Call or email, check the box, scan the QR code. And I don't, response is required by December 31st.
Well,
Well,
Okay,
okay then.
okay then.
I guess we do have to decide.
Well, my suggestion would be to not have our accounts disclosed.
We would object in
We would
effect.
object because quite frankly, you'd get flooded with information from, not proxy, but you'd now get to vote in all of the elections, you'd get all of that, and our positions are so minor, I would much prefer to have Cambridge deal with it. And if nobody votes our shares, I'm pretty much okay with that too.
Yeah, out of several millions of shares in Company X, our even 2,500 shares doesn't amount to a hill of beans.
No.
No, when I think about the variety of positions we hold and start getting proxy notices and voting, from hundreds of companies, and then we have to decide what to do with them all. I mean, we are not here to run down every last, corporate governance issue in every one of the companies we hold. I think it would be a distraction from what we're really here to do, is make sure that the town's investments are invested safely, prudently, and in accordance with the investment policy, and then to make sure that the money is spent appropriately.
And then you'd run the risk of getting the annual report from every company we've invested in and filling up our landfill site.
Yeah, we
Yep.
I'd say we don't need this.
We
Do we
will-
need a vote on that?
We do need a vote, so,
I would move that we object to having any information on our ownership
shared with the
shared with
issuers of
the issuers of
securities.
the securities.
Is there a second?
I will, you go ahead,
I'll
because I'm
second
still
that.
scribbling.
It's hard to scribe and participate at the same time.
That's okay.
All right. I think we've discussed this.
I think we have.
We should vote.
James Bubar, aye.
Ted Howard, aye.
Tom Bevington, aye.
I've
Motion.
always thought that's one of the wonderful things of using a broker and having everything in street name.
Yep.
Don't have to worry about it. No,
So
it's
I-
well outside our lane.
I've got that. Use the prepaid envelope, send it to them.
Yeah, if we need an autograph on it or something, we're all here.
Sign it.
Hopefully the post office is still working.
I think it's a busy time of year for them.
Well, didn't we just get Wednesday and Friday off as well? As a national holiday?
That would be nice.
No, for this year only. I
Yeah.
heard that was an executive order.
Well, I haven't heard, but there've been so many executive orders, it's hard to keep up with them all.
I can't keep track.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Great. That was the only other issue that I had. And so the question is there anything on your mind?
Well, I have a brief and perhaps somewhat humorous PSA. And that is that at 7:37 a.m., I received an email allegedly from you, Ted, that says, "Are you available for a brief email exchange?" And I'm tempted to reply that since we are facing each other, we probably don't need that email exchange.
We probably don't need that.
Just a PSA, though, that because your name is, and our names are all on a public website, that these sorts of scams are out and about.
Yep.
You know, I'm on a couple of other professional association boards, and we face this all the time.
Yep.
Be careful when getting emails that allege to be from any of us, because, of course, this is not your email address at all.
No, no. Yeah, I get those regularly because, like you, I'm on a couple other boards and things. When your email address is publicly available, particularly if I noticed the treasurers of our organizations
Yes.
are often
Oh,
the
yeah,
senders of things, or
Either
the chairs.
treasurer or the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I routinely will get one from Sally Nadell, maybe once a month, wanting to know if I'm available.
Yes. Need to buy some gift cards
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, get right out there.
right away.
James, anything you'd like to add?
No, not a thing. Happy holidays
Happy, well, that's a good thing.
to you and yours and everyone else around.
You as well.
So I guess,
I don't believe there are any members of
are
the
there any members of the public still out there, Craig?
negative.
Negative.
Okay,
All right,
we've kept it open for the full half an hour, so.
better than that. Well, then, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor will do the roll call thing.
James Bubar, aye.
Ted Howard, aye.
Tom Bevington, aye.
Meeting is closed at 9:15 a.m.